All right, and we are now live on Facebook and YouTube. So again, my name is Tanea, and welcome to Midday Muse. Midday Muse is where we have this deep discussions about the realities of life that will inspire you as you pursue your purpose. The purpose of this podcast is to just let you know that you're not by yourself, that we are all striving towards better and towards pursuing our goals. And so there are many, in doing that, there are so many facets of life that hit us and that is necessary for us to talk through and fellowship with like minded people about. So we hope that Midday News will be that place for you. We want you to communicate with us, write in the chat, and let us know that you're there. Let us know your thoughts. And yeah. So I'm here with my guest, Lindsey Kipps Gibbons. And we are both parents, and we're going to
Yeah.
discuss with you what it was like for us to parent during the pandemic, during the lockdowns, during quarantines, during shelter in place, during it being just these people in our faces all day.
Yes. Thank you, Tanea, for inviting me. I'm so excited to participate.
Yeah,
And I'm so happy that you're living your dream and doing something completely different.
yeah, yeah. I
Amazing.
It was definitely important to me to pursue my passions, especially after having conversations with my mom in her final days and her encouraging me to live
Yeah.
fearlessly. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
You are
Thank you.
definitely a role model for us all.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So, tell me a little bit about yourself and your family dynamics and
Sure.
what it was like in your house on the day during lockdown.
Well, so I obviously, I am a working mom of two boys. One is 6 years old, the youngest is six, and the oldest just went 12 yesterday. Um, I would like to say that probably in Bermuda, our lockdown and quarantine experience wasn't as intense as a lot of places in the world, but it was definitely a shock to spend so much time with each other and to add to the role of mother, which, as you know, and I think a lot of moms and dads know, is more than just one thing. So you became not just a parent, but you were a teacher, you
Mhm.
were a counselor, you were a chef. It just made everything a lot more intense. So yeah, how about you with your
So, yes, I have
girls?
two children, 10 and 5. They were 9 and 4 at the time. And it was very interesting for us, especially being the only adult in the house with two children.
Hmm.
That was intense at times. They love to run around and be wild. And then also working from home and managing
Yes.
a very demanding career as a credit recovery manager and
Yeah.
keeping on top of the world and things that my clients were going through.
Hmm.
Because not only was I going through, but the people that I serviced at the bank were going through, and so we needed to um, keep on top of what they needed as well.
Yeah.
Everybody was in a panic.
Yeah.
So unexpected as to what was going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I think for me in the beginning, it was almost fun because I thought it was going to be temporary. So, when we first went to working in school from home, to be honest, I was the worst, especially for my youngest who was in preschool, because I'm like, oh, this is temporary. He's only in preschool. They'll get it sorted out soon enough. And when it didn't change and it didn't become temporary and the deadlines just kept going on and on and on, it just was, it just, I think, got harder and harder, right? I mean, my son, the oldest one, said, my new teacher is the worst. I'm like, she is. And he was talking about me. I'm like, she's the worst. Like, I apologize. But I'm not like, while I feel like in general I'm a good parent, I do not have very much patience. So trying to figure out how to help you learn and just not go star crazy was, I honestly, looking back, I don't know how we got through those early days once we realized that this wasn't going to be temporary. But we did, right?
Hmm.
We had to, didn't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I told my daughter's teachers, listen, I choose peace. So if if they're
Yeah.
not going to want to do the work, I'm not screaming and
Yeah.
hollering. It's just it's too much going on around you
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
fight
Yeah.
against your family about whether or not they're going to do homework. So we chose peace.
It's important.
And
You have to
if
balance everything.
pardon,
You have to balance everything
you
and
have to
decide
balance everything.
what's going to be worth your attention and your focus
Yeah,
each day, because it
I,
can't be everything.
exactly. And that's the key, right? Setting the priority, and that changes often. But just setting the priority and making sure that you're putting your attention into what is most beneficial to you and your family at the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, what would you say were the pros of lockdown?
So it's funny. I was thinking about this question, and I was like, I can't think of a pro. I really had a hard time thinking of something positive that came out of it. Obviously, I think being able to spend more time together is
Hmm.
always good, but I don't know that I would list that as a pro. I struggled to come up with some pros. I really did. But spending more time with each other is always a good thing. So I would have to say that's the number one benefit of the lockdowns and the quarantines. But then on the flip side, the con was that my children literally spent hours and hours on their iPads and watching TV, because there's only so much you could craft, you can do, and
Yeah,
talking, and all of those sorts of things. So I
yeah.
struggled with that question, Tanea, if I'm honest.
I put it there because I I struggled with it too,
Hmm.
but it's important to be able to pull out the lessons and the blessings
Yeah,
in every
yeah,
circumstance.
that is true.
So that's
I
why
would say,
but I sat and pondered on that question for a very long time, even though it was my question.
for me, I think personally, I would say one pro was that I have really decided, like, at the end of this, I don't think that my life should look the same.
Hmm.
So how can I make different changes? So whether that's, you know, learning a new language or reading more or looking for a new job, like I decided that after this, it couldn't be the same. I couldn't just be still. And I'm not saying it had to be better. It might not be better, but it couldn't be the same.
Yeah.
So I just needed to do something different, which I think that was a good lesson um, for me personally. But I don't know. What about you for your pros and cons? What did you?
Well, pros are definitely the spending time because I got to know my kids in a different way.
Mm,
Um, Especially when you think about you just wake up, you go to work, you come home, it's time to stop, it's time for bed, and you just going, going, going.
mm-hmm.
But this gave me a real opportunity to really see who these little people actually are.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciated that. It also made me more faithful, more interested in what God's plan is for real.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was so much uncertainty, and so you had to rely on something other than the external because every day the news was different. Every day,
Yeah.
you just didn't know what it all meant because we have never
Mm-hmm.
experienced this before. And so it just made me draw me closer to my faith, brought me closer to wanting to make sure that I pursue what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially working from home and having the two kids without there being another person there to balance it out. Um, it also made me reprioritize
Mm-hmm.
and just figure out that I don't really want to be devoting all of my time, and because the pressure was on to get things done.
Yes. Yeah.
you know, is I don't want to devote and have that pressure towards something that's not actually building the kingdom that I have
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
envisioned. It's someone else's idea, someone else's.
Yeah.
It's fine, but it was
That's
just
not
like,
what you wanted for you. Yeah.
yeah, it's not what I wanted for me, and so it just
Yeah.
made me more courageous, more faithful, and yeah, just getting to know those kids, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I already knew that I call my house a mini frat house because
Hmm.
obviously I live with two little boys and then a husband. So I'm definitely outnumbered. But it definitely, the pandemic and being home all the time heightened those tendencies of my children to be little frat boys. And they definitely, the personality and their humor, I 100% live with two comedians. So they kept me laughing the whole time. And, they're just so funny. And I
Hmm.
guess I would have missed a lot of it if we hadn't had all that time together, you
Yeah,
know? So it was very interesting to like they just keep, like make me laugh all the time, which I love. So I
Yeah,
love a good joke.
my girls too is just amazing. We love like they are different parts of me, so
Mm.
it's funny to like watch myself play out. They're their own individuals. Don't get me wrong, but they have different aspects of me as well. So we all
Yeah.
love music. We all love to dance. So at any moment, you'll see two little people come next to you and start twerking and dancing. I'm like, "Jeez."
I love that though. I love that.
Just the jokes and everything. And we took a lot of walks and
Mm.
went to the water a lot. And it's funny, they would like no, they'd be like, remember when we went to the on a walk during quarantine or we went to Horseshoe Bay? It was so fun. I'm like, yo, I don't know, that was keeping you alive.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think one thing, I think the best thing was that we tried to keep the same routine.
Hmm.
So, as much as possible, we weren't perfect, obviously, but going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, because otherwise, I don't know how I would have survived, The kids were, everything was so up in the air that we needed to keep some little bit of normal life. So I think your walks are probably the same thing,
Yeah,
keeping a bit of normal going on, so that we could just get through each day.
yeah.
But
Like they weren't going to bed on time, girl.
no,
We didn't know night and day at the end of the day.
I would say not every day. We didn't get to bed on time every day, but we tried as much as possible that bedtime was still
Yeah,
at 8:30 in bed, that type of stuff, and you know still persuading them to get a bath every day, even though you weren't going to. Like, no, you still have to get a
the
bath. Like, you
mamas
still have to
that
get a
went to
bath.
bed. Oh, where we're going? You don't need to get a bath. No,
You still need to get a bath, and you still need to brush your teeth, and you still need to put on clean clothes. Like, come on now. We
we
have
have
to be
quite
a
a
little bit
few.
the same.
Sorry, we have quite a few people that have actually joined us. So I'm very excited. Hi, Sean Marie, and we got Samantha and Mid. Oh, I was gonna say Mid Pimples, but I don't think that's it. My Dimples. We got quite a few people that have joined, so I'm very happy.
Nice.
Thank you guys for joining us and for being a part of the conversation. Please join in and share your thoughts as well as we do this. So, what were? I mean, I know there are a lot of cons, but what were some of the cons that kind of stood out for you, and how did you navigate around those?
I think again with the whole pros and cons question, I had a hard time with the cons as well. Like, it just,
Mm.
maybe it's just because it's all a blur now.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the con was still me trying to do everything that I did before for work,
Mm-hmm.
everything that I did before as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to keep all of that, all of those balls up in the air, despite the fact that there was a global pandemic going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it didn't matter if you gave them pasta 3 nights in a row, but I was still saying, oh no, we had pasta on Monday, I can't give it to them on Tuesday. Who
Right.
cares? Like, why are you stressing yourself out so much about those things that don't matter, at the end of the day? Um, and I think one of the cons was not speaking up earlier. So there were some things from a school perspective that I'm like, I don't know why you want me to do that. And it took a long time for me to say, I'm not doing it. Like, my
Mm.
kids are not going to participate. There is a pandemic going on. I wish I would have said that months before instead of stressing out about it. So I think those are the cons, just not speaking up for my family earlier and thinking that everything had to be perfect and, the same as it was
Right.
before the pandemic.
So, how do you? Is it more freeing now that you
It
relinquish
is,
the level of?
because I honestly, like, I feel like I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And in a different way. So I still enjoy my job. I still put as much as I can into it.
Mm-hmm.
But it, it doesn't have to consume, like, in the beginning of the pandemic, because my kids were working, doing school, I would wake up sometimes at 4 in the morning to do work stuff so that I could not be on doing stuff the beginning of their school day.
Yeah.
And that, why?
Right.
you know so that just isn't my same level of focus anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can still get the job done and be a good employee
Mm-hmm.
without bending over backwards that way. And similarly for school, I'm not filling out your reading log every day. Like, why am I doing that? Like, can my child read? Does he have a problem? Then it's fine.
Right.
So there's things like that that it just doesn't bother me anymore. And I don't really actually care what people think, because at the end of the day, it only matters if my kids and my husband and I are functioning. I was going to say happy, but we can't always be happy. So functioning and moving forward. And so I don't really care as much about what people think. I don't care if my kids are in sweatpants all the time, which before I'd be like, no, we're going out. You need to wear jeans. No, they don't want to wear jeans anymore. So they're in track pants and joggers all the time. My son, the other day, the youngest, he likes to dress himself. He had on bright blue army pants and a green t-shirt. It's cold, but you know what? That's what you want to do, then that's what you're going to do. And I don't care what other people are thinking about it. You're happy, we're happy, we're doing what we need to do. Just keep trucking forwards,
I
you
think that's
know?
a lesson overall for everyone to kind of take from this is the level of freedom, the level of
Yes.
taking charge of just who you are and who you want to be
Yep.
and being unapologetic about it.
Yeah. And what's important to you.
Yeah. What is
It's
important?
so funny. I was thinking about this, as your children grow and you're thinking about they need this amount of clothing, because they need, just in case you go anywhere, they need some nice outfits, and just in case they need 17 pairs of shoes, and just in case. But to me, the pandemic made me really think that all of that is so unimportant. And don't get me wrong, I still like nice things. I still like to get my kids nice things, but they don't need to have 6 pairs of sneakers just in case we go somewhere nice,
Right.
and they don't need to save those sneakers just in case we go somewhere nice. Wear them now. Enjoy what you have now and just move forward. Life is too short to be putting all these barriers on.
That's definitely it. My daughter, my younger one, she loves to dress up. She likes to wear dresses. She likes to be sparkly. So we're going to the grocery store, and she's got the sequins dress
I
and
love it.
some rusty sneakers. But
Yeah, yeah.
that's what you want to do. That's fine. So welcome, Sandra. It's good to see you. Thank you. And Sandra said, yes, not sweating the small stuff. Exactly.
Hmm. That's
Exactly.
so true.
Exactly. And, so, what did you learn about yourself that, especially, what surprised you that you learned about yourself during this?
I think it surprised me just how impatient I am. Like, I always knew that I was impatient. That's never been my strong suit, and I try to work on it. But I think during this period, it's taught me just how impatient I am. But not only that, just how much it affects my kids. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, with school, for example, sometimes I think that my child should just get it. Like, why don't you know how to do that? Like, I don't understand. Like, you should know how to do that. And I'm trying to explain it to him, especially my oldest, and he's like, Mom, you're not making any sense, or, you're not understanding what I'm saying. And I'm just like, oh, just do it however you want. And I've come to realize that my impatience is definitely a fatal flaw and something that I need to work on even more. Yeah, it was the pandemic definitely brought that out, or just trying to say, okay, can you just wait a minute? And then my frustration level just, so that was just how impatient I am was a big surprise. I thought it was a small problem today. It's actually a big problem.
Yeah, it's no better over here. So,
This is a safe space, so we could share this type of stuff with everybody.
exactly. Stay.
But yeah, definitely just my patience level was a surprise for me. I thought that I had it a little bit more under control. No, I'm getting there. I learn every day. Every day I make small steps to be better.
Well, that's what it's all about. Just ever forward, no matter
Yeah.
how small the step. Even recognize them when you do. I definitely had to learn my triggers, and even learning how to explain where I'm coming from to my children. That's not
Hmm.
something that you normally do. You do what I say, and
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah.
What I do.
Just to,
But just being more open with them about why I say what I say, why I feel what I feel.
hmm
And even shifting from just being mommy who just you just clean your room, do this, do that, to now being more human with my children. Because
hmm
I mean, you can only hide for so long from the people that are right there.
All day,
All
24
day.
hours a day.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's all the walls kind of come down, and you just we became closer as far as uh if I cried, they saw me crying. There was no running in the
Hmm.
room and hiding and crying, and then you come out and everything's.
Yeah,
None of that. They were in your room, they were in your bathroom, they were everywhere.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
you can't hide. Which goes back to your point about just being unapologetic about, who you are. It just
Hmm.
helps you to be more brave.
Yeah,
More
yeah, you're
proactive.
right. I think the one of the other things I would say that I learned was like we say now to our kids, I'm trying to think how best to phrase it, but we're more willing to say that we don't know, or,
Wow.
you know, if my son was crying before about something, and I still am not great with this, but I was just like, why are you crying? And it's more like, let's think about it. He's never been to school in a normal environment. He doesn't get to play with his friends. He can't, do all of the things that he did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's all just coming down on them too. So I think being able to just say you're having big emotions and I understand,
Yeah.
instead of just why are you crying? Stop crying, or whatever it is. I am looking at all of the other reasons why now, which I never would have done before, because who had time to do that, right? I need to go
Right.
to work. I need to make dinner. If you're crying in my way, I need you to get out of my way, you know? And this, I think maybe that is a pro as well, Tanea,
Hmm.
that it created space for us to ask questions, or for me to ask questions of my kids, to understand why they're feeling a certain way and to talk about it more than
Hmm.
maybe I would have done in the past. So look, that's my pro. I'm
I,
glad we had this conversation. Now I can say
yeah,
that.
see?
That is my pro.
Yeah, it's important to recognize it. I mean, troubles and trials will come no matter what. And so, but it's all working together for good.
Hmm.
And so you have to
Hmm.
sit down and figure out, okay, what is the lesson here? What's supposed to happen next? What do I do with all of these things that just happened?
Hmm. Yeah.
And you have to put it together in order to step forward. It's easy to just get bogged down with what's wrong and feel stuck and not
Hmm.
be able to press forward. But yeah, it's not it's it takes some work, but
Yeah.
step by step, if you pull out the good things, then it'll work out.
I was thinking I had a question for you too, because I'm trying to figure this out for myself. So how is 2022 COVID parenting going to be different from 2020 and 2021? So I kind of feel like 2020 was survival mode, just
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. Well, however you have to get to the end. In my opinion, 2020, the ends justified the means. Like, as long as you got there and
Yeah.
everybody was still alive, healthy, physically and mentally, then you were okay.
Mm-hmm.
2021, for me, I think I got a little bit more hopeful that it was going to be more normal, and that didn't happen. So
Mm-hmm.
then it was sort of depression era. But how does I like, what does 2022 mean?
2022 is definitely more intentional. I think this is the time where we definitely need to set the vision for what our families are gonna be. I definitely saw. I didn't really have to like. I knew what I wanted to do, as far as I want to travel. I want to go to Ghana. I want to do different things. But it definitely the past 2 years made me more specific about not only what I want to do, but how I'm going to do it. And so with taking all the lessons learned from survival mode, taking because I had the way you described it is exactly my 2021, 2020, 2020. Let's just get there. I don't care what it looks like as long as it's done.
Hmm.
21 is just you hope for what is not working out, and so you start to get because in 2020 you had no real plan. You were just like just in survival mode, not having a plan and not having a vision for how you're going to move forward does put you in depression mode and does give a lot
Hmm.
of anxiety because you just don't know what's next and you have no control of it whatsoever. So I think for 2022, as far as being plain about the vision that you have for your family, for yourself, for each individual kid, and I don't mean that by saying, okay, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer. I just mean like my vision for my children is for them to help them on their journey of figuring out who they are and what they're supposed to be here for,
Mm,
and being open to helping them get there. Um, Even if it's unconventional, just be okay with it
yeah.
and steer them into in the direction that they are showing their passions and showing the flowers for. And so just like my older daughter, she loves to sing, dance, and she wants to be a model and she wants to be a celebrity.
Hmm. I love that.
So, I'm looking at how do I get her into modeling classes? How do I get her into acting? What school is going to best shape that for her?
Hmm.
What environment is best for her? And at the same time, not leaving out who I am and what I need and what I want, and just kind of balancing all of that. So I think 2022 is about intention and about balance. Yeah.
Mm, I love that. Intention and balance. I like
Mhm.
that. That's good.
Yeah. So,
That is good.
how did you deal with, or did you have feelings of fear and anxiety while going through these past 2 years?
I think for me personally, I think I was so distracted by the kids that I
Mm-hmm.
probably didn't allow myself to necessarily feel the fear as much. Like I wasn't so worried about, catching COVID or anything because we stayed inside. We pretty much stayed in our bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I had fear that way. Um, I did worry about my kids and if they were, from an education perspective, were they getting what they needed, were they where they were supposed to be, and all of those sorts of things. Um, and then dealing with my children's anxiety, I think, was a big thing. So oh, they weren't, you know, I think kids don't show external the same way. Obviously, they don't as adults do, like fear and anxiety. But you could tell, like, they weren't sleeping as well.
Mm-hmm.
My kids used to be early risers. They sleep later now. Um, the oldest one, he was sort of pulling out his hair a little bit in the front, and you could feel him, you know, different little things like that. So I think I was more focused on what they were going through. So I didn't deal with that, my emotions, or if I did have any fear, it wasn't apparent to me because I was dealing with theirs too
Mm-hmm.
much, which that might be a little bit scary because who knows, in 2022, it might be when it all comes up because it's a little bit calmer now.
Yeah, and that's real. That's very real.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
put things off. They don't go away. They just
No, they
they
just come up later in a different way.
in a different way. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's unopportune time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But no, I think the kids themselves, I think my biggest thing is I worry how this is going to manifest itself in the years down the road
yeah.
because overall, I think children are very resilient, right? They
Mhm.
bend really easily, but we don't know how this is going to show up in 2 or 3 years down the road. Like for your youngest and my youngest, they've never had a sports day. Like
Right.
simple things like that might not be important, but how is that going to impact them down the road? That they don't their introduction to education was during quarantine and COVID and masks and back and forth homeschool and in-person school. What is that going to do to them down the line? What adults are they going to become
Right.
because of this period? That to me is what I think is the fear that I have, that it's going to impact them in a negative way and we're not going to know until later on down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that's why conversations are important, and why it's
Hmm.
important for us to be open with our children and not
Yeah.
hide. That's the parenting of the past, really, to hide from your kids and just always
Hmm.
put the best foot forward. You're always, mommy, make sure that the house is clean. Mommy, make sure that my bag is packed and everything. She's always smiling. She's always
Yeah.
got it. But now, like I said, you can't hide, and so being more transparent makes your kids more transparent.
Yes. Yep. That's a
So
very good point.
I think if we keep those conversations going and and then we can kind of pick up on where they kind of maybe go astray and say, oh, wait,
Hmm.
let's bring that back.
Hmm.
So I think definitely talking, and we have Miss Perry Baby who's agreed as far as how the social skills have been impacted. Um, during
Yeah.
this time. I know my older daughter, she bites her nails now, and she
Mm,
will just sit and think. And sometimes I'll see her hands, and I'm like, "What were you thinking about?" And she'll be like, thinking about you catching COVID, or thinking about
yeah.
what if you die." And it's
Oh,
just
really?
it's amazing just how much these guys have been impacted. Like you said,
Yeah.
they are resilient, but it and as much as I've tried to shield them from the news, like I didn't have CNN sitting up on TV.
Hmm.
Um, I watched the stuff, but it kept it in my headphones so that they weren't hearing it. But just being on lockdown and just being away from their friends and
Yeah.
just not understanding what is this all about, and then it, with Bermuda being so small, um, it's the separation is easily felt because we're
Hmm.
together. We were
Yeah.
always together, even the roads are small. You're
Exactly.
in
Exactly.
each other's faces nonstop. It's a small island, but now everybody was separated out, and it's just
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
family in this isolated place. They definitely recognized it. And now today, um, she'll say stuff like, I don't know, I don't feel like interacting today." It's
Yeah.
too many people. I don't. I'm not saying.
Yeah. It's funny. So my sister, we spend before the pandemic and even now, probably Saturday or Sunday we'll be with each other. And so when we first went into lockdown and they did the bubbles and we couldn't cross households,
Yeah,
I think that was the toughest for them because they were just so used to being in each other's presence
yeah,
every weekend, and even things like getting in the car and driving to school. We were together and different things. So I think that was hard. Or similar with the isolation comment and not wanting to socialize. My kids would like look out the kitchen window and be like, "Why are they playing so close?" You know, because they're so 6 feet apart, and then you see the neighbors' kids playing on the lawn all together, and they're not supposed to be that close, and they can't do that, and what if, and they have a whole new lingo, these kids, with all of this.
they do. It's amazing. Even my little one, she already knows. We get in the car, she puts on the hand sanitizer. Like
Hmm.
it's a whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think from the social aspect, do they, even small things, like we got a note home just today that said, please don't send your kids to school, let your kids bring any toys to school
Mm,
because they like to share. And with the new phase one that we're in now, they can't share toys.
right.
So how do they learn how to share and interact with other kids, and you know all of those lessons that they would have learned just in regular play that they don't have the opportunity to learn?
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be something to watch it play out.
Oh,
Like you said,
yeah. But
she
they're far smarter than us, so I do think that overall they will be okay,
that is
but
true.
it's getting there.
That is true. I must say, my 5-year-old thinks of things and comes to such two different conclusions that I think I would have been much older to come to
Yeah,
these, different realizations and things like that. And she's on it. She's so fast. Just,
yeah. They
you
just have so much more knowledge in their little brains than we that I think even me now at 40 compared to them at 5 and 6, I'm like, I just think that you have so much more going on up there than I do, you
yeah.
know. Or my eldest son, I don't know if you've heard of this game Wordle. That
Word.
Yeah, you have to check it out. It's this new word game. It's You have to figure out the 5-letter word, and my son beats me every single day. You have 6 chances. He has gotten it in 2 or 3 chances every day, and I am taking 4, 5, or 6 times in order to get it, and it is driving me bananas. But I'm like, he's just smarter than me. Like in some ways. Don't tell him I said that. Whoever's listening, but
They're gonna be some of it,
like they're
right?
just. I think they're so much more clever than I was at their ages.
Mhm.
But
It's the truth. It's the truth. So, what did you do most of all to pass the time with your family?
we play cards a lot.
Hmm.
We watch way too much TV. Um, we I had this big plan at the beginning that we were gonna like I was gonna teach my oldest son how to cook, and all of this. I didn't do any of that. We downloaded Duolingo so we could learn a language. I did not do any of that either. So we did a lot of playing board games. Snakes and Ladders is a personal favorite. We got some video games. We did, I can't remember the guy's name. He's a PE teacher from the UK that did videos. So we would do those because it was part of the school
What the
curriculum.
school?
We would
Oh
do
yes,
Mr. Joe, I think his name was, something like that.
a
Can't remember his name.
tall black guy, right?
No, no, this is a white guy from the UK.
Okay,
I think
so we
his name
had
is Mr.
one
Joe.
that Anaya school would have us play. And oh right, ready? Let's go. You would have us in the living room doing
That's
exercises. Oh
funny.
my god. Yeah.
And Miles's art teacher, um, Miss Simmons, who's phenomenal, she would give them little lessons, and then we would all end up doing the art project, which was really fun too. Like once we did learning how to dye paper with food coloring and shaving cream,
Oh cool.
which was messy but really fun. And yeah, we just did a lot of board games and TV watching and reading. We did a lot of, like, my oldest really likes to read, so he got a new series, and he's been flying through those over the last 2 years. It's like 20 or something books in the series, so he's going through all of those. But yeah, all of the big plans that we had, to like exercise every day and build muscle and be all of that, none of that happened. All of the super, super productive stuff didn't happen, but we did learn really good. I could beat them all at X and O's now, but they've learned my tricks, so now they're,
Yeah,
be
my
able to
daughter
beat me
learned my trick.
sometimes.
She beats me now. She's so excited because I don't let her win when we play games.
Me either.
I feel
Thank
like
you. See, we're on the same page there.
yeah, my when I was used to play games with my mom when I was little, she would never let me win. And then if I cried, she would sit back and be like, "You want to keep playing or not?" She was heartless, but I
Yeah,
could play. No,
exactly.
especially like Yuka, Spade, I could play.
Yes, I'm not letting you win. Definitely not letting you win in cards. And I might even cheat so that I could make sure that I win. But I'm not letting you win. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, no.
Mm-mm. I
No.
already let you have too much anyway of me, so I can't let you beat me in cards.
See, this is the exact logic. Like you're taking everything. Let me.
I cannot. Mm-mm. But no, other than that, I think, yeah, we didn't do. Looking back, I'm nothing too exciting, but it was definitely. Or one thing that we did do, my kids, because the Zoom calls, and because we both worked for the same organization, obviously we're talking to people all across the world, so they got very interested in places like Sri Lanka and India, and so we would look up stuff and different facts about those places and things like that. And then just recently we had the same conversation at dinner time. How was your day? What was your favorite part? What was your least favorite part? Did anything exciting happen?
Those
And
are
I'm
the
like, we need to
my
spice it
kids.
up a little bit. So we just bought this little deck of cards that has questions on it, just on Saturday actually, so that
Oh,
we could ask that question and instead of the same old every day.
I have to
So
find
that's
it. I
good.
like
Yeah,
that. I like that.
it was
That's
good.
well, we are having a fantastic conversation, but I know that you do need to run to your next engagement.
Yes.
So is there anything that you want to leave the people with this afternoon?
And maybe just one thing, like I remember my mom said when I first had kids, she was like, it doesn't really matter what type of mom you are, or if you're the perfect mom, or if you're doing things by the book, because your children don't know what this perfect mom is supposed to be. So
Hmm.
you're trying to meet this standard that they don't even care about. You just
Right.
have to be the perfect mom for them. And
Yes.
I think for moms, dads, caregivers, it doesn't matter what somebody else is doing or how somebody else does something, as long as you're doing it to the best of your ability and you're doing what's right for your family. That's all that matters.
That's
So I think that's what best advice I ever got.
excellent words of wisdom, for sure. For sure. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for joining me
Thank
today.
you for having me.
Thank you. And this
I
is
loved it.
I loved it too. This was wonderful. Wonderful. So I look forward to seeing you guys here next week, Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Time, 1 p.m. AST, Bermuda time. And have a great day.
Talk to you again. Bye.